Matt, at this time, and I apologize to the guest speakers, please do
Okay,
introduce
tonight's guest speaker is Amber Starbuck and Howard Levine from SDGE, and they're going to be showing us some new technologies that are coming up and also how to probably read our smart meters that are coming, because they're brand new.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Well, thank you for having us tonight. Would you like us to address council?
No, actually, if you stand up there, we normally have a podium, but they didn't even have a podium here, so like, just off to the side.
Okay.
That way everybody can see you.
While Howard works on setting up that piece of technology that I'm not so well versed in, I'll just get us started. I know that there's probably a lot of folks here that have questions on some other items. We're here this evening to talk about some of the new technologies and the new innovations that we're experiencing as our utility. In the last 10 years, we have experienced more changes in the utility business than we have in the last 100 years. So there's a lot of exciting things coming for us and for our customers. I know that there was an article that ran in the paper, though, that talked about the WEVA filing, which is the Wildfire Expense Balancing Account. So folks who have questions on that, Howard and I would be more than happy to do our best to answer those. For the questions that we can't answer, we'd be happy to take those questions back and send an email to Robin so that you guys can distribute them at your next council meeting. There may also be some questions on the solar filing that was circulating late last year, and again, we'd be more than happy to address what we can, and then what we can't, we'll take those questions back and get back to everyone. So.
Now there's a microphone. You turn the switch on the bottom. You gotta help me.
Would you like us to use
No,
that?
it's up to you. It's up to you. The switch on the bottom.
Not that big, isn't it?
Really?
Maybe on the table. Feel like in focus?
Yeah, that's perfect.
Sorry, it takes a few minutes. Our corporate security requires sign it every time.
Password. PASS.
They won't let us use that one.
That one's been used too many
1,
times.
2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
One that still works is password, but the S's are dollar signs and the O's like a
Yeah.
zero.
That one's okay.
Yeah.
My case would be the cent sign.
Yeah.
I'm married. Or admin.
Admin.
All right. So we're going to start off with a quick video before we launch into the presentation, just so that it gives a really good feel for what we're experiencing as a utility. It's just 3 minutes.
Put the microphone
Our nation's electric power infrastructure
hybrid vehicles twice as high as anywhere else in the country. The energy industry is working to modernize the grid, making it more reliable than ever before. Lawmakers are also driving change. In November 2009, the governor of California set a new statewide target for investor-owned utilities to have 33% of the energy they buy come from renewable resources by 2020. But our existing energy system wasn't designed to manage large amounts of renewable energy. And here in San Diego, our location makes solving these issues an urgent priority. At SDGE, part of our commitment to be here for customers every day includes accelerating our smart grid initiatives to help ensure the region is served by a state-of-the-art system that is reliable and ready for the next century. With a smarter grid, energy can be delivered more efficiently. It'll allow a two-way power flow to help bring wind, solar, and other renewable sources safely to customers. Smart grid technology will also help empower smarter energy choices. SDGE will replace 1.4 million electric meters with smart meters and upgrade 900,000 natural gas meters by the end of 2011, making it one of the first utilities in the nation to do so. These digital meters will make remote two-way communications possible, provide tools to help customers manage their energy use, speed outage detection and resolution, and automate meter reading. Ultimately, these devices are the foundation for the smart home, business, and grid of the future. When a smart meter integrates with the home area network, you'll be able to remotely connect to and control many automated digital appliances in your home. You'll be able to control a sensor-equipped refrigerator, air conditioner, or pool pump to temporarily shut it down during peak energy use periods, saving you money. This will also help SDGE manage energy demand during high-use times, which means more reliable service for everyone.
That movie gives a little intro into what world we're facing. Because to borrow an advertising slogan from a car line that doesn't exist anymore, SDGE, or your electric utility, is not your father's utility. It is changing dramatically. 30 years ago I bought my first personal computer. It kind of had 2 floppy disks in it, and hard drive wasn't invented yet, probably, or at least not for a personal computer. Would I've envisioned that I'd have a computer with me all the time? The iPad 3 that just came out, I'm told, has more computing power than the first supercomputer they put in at UCSD many years ago. So technology all around us leapfrogs ahead. And as a utility provider, we need to do the same thing. And so Amber and I are going to kind of tag team on this presentation, and just stop us anytime you have questions, and we will answer them now or get you the answer if we don't know it.
Great, thank you. So the video touched on this, but in California, as I'm sure you're well aware, we have a very unique situation. We have regulations that are much different than other utilities in other parts of the country. So I just wanted to make sure we pointed that out. Many of you are probably very familiar with AB 32, which will take us back to 1990 levels by 2020. We have net zero energy homes and buildings now, which is a very exciting thing for our region. And then also we have our 33% renewable standard. Currently, our renewable portfolio is at over 20%, so that's very exciting for our utility. We were the first utility in the state to support the governor's goal of the 33% renewable standard, and we're actively working to reach that. This is just a funny tidbit. I think there's a world market for maybe 5 computers, chairman of IBM in 1943. The point of this is just to say that, SDGE began operations in 1881, and at that time we had about 89 customers. Today we are serving 3 million customers. We have 1.4 million electric meters and 850 gas meters. So times have really changed, and with that, like we mentioned and like you saw in the video, our technology, our industry is very much evolving. This talks about the technological revolution, and the point with this is that we're used to it as a society now. We're used to the to the smartphones, we're used to having our iPads, we're used to all of these things, and as a utility, we're really trying to make ourselves compatible with the needs of customers that want to adopt these new technologies, the early adopters as we call them, and for the folks who don't necessarily want to adopt the technology yet, or they're adopting it much slower. So we're trying to make sure that we're both able to accommodate the folks that we've been working with on the regular face-to-face, over-the-phone type of communications, but at the same time, develop ways to utilize technology to reach the growing markets that we are seeing today. And then these are just some of the advances that we've seen. Let's see if there we go. I don't know if any of you have nieces or nephews. Mine burn up my battery playing Angry Birds on a regular basis. So this is changing our mindset. So this is basically our vision, and that's the exciting thing about what we're doing with our Ambassador Corps. And I don't know how many of you are familiar with the Ambassador Corps, but we are employees that volunteer to do these presentations. Howard and I are in two very different departments with the company. There's about 40 of us total. And we're constantly growing, and it's people from all areas of the company that want to not only learn more about our vision for the future, but also reach out and be a part of their communities and really explain it and answer questions where possible. So our vision is to, like I said, adapt to the environment. We want to shift our culture. You know, we're very used to, as a utility, providing a service and having it be sort of a one-way flow. And with the change in the industry and the change in society, we're really trying to adapt to that so we can have a two-way flow and so that we can really enable our customers to have a lot more control over their usage. And I think you'll see that a lot with smart meters and some of the other technologies that we're implementing. So, perfect segue to smart meters. We have installed 2.3 million smart meters. We're almost fully deployed. There's a few pieces that are still left remaining. This is really the catalyst for the smart grid that we talked about. Just a question, how many people know how we knew that your power was out prior to smart meters? Anybody? You call, exactly. And then we'd get your phone call and we'd record it, and then maybe your neighbor would call, so we'd record that one, and then a few more neighbors would call and we'd think, we need to roll those trucks a lot faster. Yeah, exactly. Now it's instantaneous, and we have the ability with our smart meters, through smart meter technology and through all of the upgrades that we're doing to our grid, to really be able to troubleshoot remotely, and that will help us with reliability, that'll help us with our outages and things like that. So these technologies not only help you as a customer manage your usage and be more knowledgeable on your usage, but it's a real help for the utility to provide better service. Does anybody have my account in the room this evening? Okay, so my account, most of you should have your smart meter, with the exception of maybe a few. Once you have your smart meter, you can log into my account. Well, you could have logged into my account previously, but with your smart meter data, once you're logged into my account, you'll be able to actually see your hourly usage. We've found, and studies show, that once you're able to actually see what your usage looks like, as a customer, you can save between 5 and 10% annually on your usage just by having that knowledge. So it's a very powerful tool. One other thing that we just wanted to throw in here as an example is an energy efficiency program that we did in North Park. Now, I don't know how many of you would believe me if I told you, as a business owner, knock, knock, knock on your door, and we send our text down and they say, please let me into your business. I'm working with SDGE. We can provide you with free lights. We can provide you with a variety of programs. I don't know how many of you would believe our text or not, but we've had a really hard time reaching businesses with a lot of the services that we provide that are no cost. This North Park project was a really exciting opportunity for us to partner with a local organization, the North Park Business District, where we walked door to door with these folks and were able to sign up over 65 businesses on our direct install program and a variety of other business programs that SDGE offers at no additional cost to businesses. And as you can see, we had significant savings on energy. So it was a very exciting partnership that we had with North Park. We were really happy that they brought us to the table. The California Air Resources Board put together a template that is now being utilized, and by our company and other companies. So this is just a very exciting thing for us to be a part of, and we're looking for these types of partnerships.
And how much did it cost the ratepayers if it didn't cost the businesses?
Oh, that's a very good question. So on your bill, every customer, every residential customer, every business customer pays a PPP, a public purpose charge fee. So essentially, within the state of California, as the utility, we're gathering funds for energy efficiency programs, and then all those monies are redistributed to the territory for these programs. So there are programs both for businesses and for residential customers.
It's a non-voluntary tax.
Pardon?
It's a non-voluntary tax.
It is as a utility, we're mandated to collect these funds.
You mandated it yourself, is that right?
No, we did not mandate it ourselves. We're mandated by the state of California to provide that service, to provide those programs are paid for through the utility. Am I answering your question?
Yeah, but since I'm still talking, I suppose, is SDGE, are they still bonusing out their employees for the lack of maintenance for burning our houses down? Just curious.
I'm assuming that's a rhetorical question. So.
No, I'm curious. Are you guys still bonusing out your employees for the lack of maintenance that burned our homes down?
I'm sure you're referring to the 2007 fire.
Yes.
Okay. SDGE was not found negligent for those fires. Our facilities were involved in 3 of the fires in 2007.
Well, if you weren't found negligent, why did you settle with every single insurance company in Maple Hole?
Are you familiar with the term called strict liability?
I'm not.
In the state of California, and I understand you guys are frustrated, and I can tell that you're angry, and if you would like to have a conversation about this particular topic.
No, I'd like to hear.
I'm happy to, but.
Bonusing program, because to me it's a public utility, and if you're losing money, I got a smart meter 3 years ago. A man knocked on my door and said, "I'm going to replace your smart meter." I said, "Why?" "I just built my house 3 years ago because you burned it down 4 years ago." And they said, "Well, you get a new meter." I said, "How much is that costing me? I don't need a new meter. I've got a smart meter, and again, how much is that costing the ratepayers to replace the meter you've given me 3 years ago?"
Let me address your first question, and then I'll get back to the smart meter question. So your first question on the fires. We are a strict liability state, which essentially means that our utility and other water districts, actually, we're held strictly liable for anything that is caused by our system. So and this is just an example, if a drunk driver hits a power pole, knocks it down, if that causes a fire, we're held strictly liable, which means that we are the ultimate person that covers the cost. Similarly, with the winds that occurred in the 2007 fire, and as I'm sure you're well aware, those winds exceeded 70 miles per hour. With our facilities being involved, we're held strictly liable, which means we cover the cost first. Now, does that mean that we ultimately cover the costs? It may not. There's litigation that goes on, and that is still going on with regard to the 2007 fires. So to your second question on the smart meter.
Are you still bonusing out your employees?
I really don't know what you're talking about. I'd be happy to do some research for you. I don't know what you're talking about.
Do your employees still receive an annual bonus?
Pardon?
Do your upper echelon employees still receive an annual bonus?
Our employees have, through our Human Resources Department, have various
bonus scheduling.
Bonus programs as part of any other company. I really can't speak to that. I'm not an expert on that, so I think you're trying to infer something that is not necessarily accurate, which is why I would much prefer to take your question, and I'll respond back to the council with an accurate answer to your question.
Okay, and the smart meter that I received 3 years ago,
so
I'm getting another smart meter, and how much is that costing ratepayers?
So the smart meter program itself is going to be a cost savings to ratepayers. There are.
So why do I have to buy 2?
You're not buying a smart meter, and I don't know, to be honest with you, your particular situation. If you want to give me your address, I can research it for you. There are a couple of situations where we've had to do system upgrades to some of the early deployments on smart meters to accommodate the programs, so you may be part of that. There was a couple of pilot programs that we launched early on, so I don't know your particular situation, but you're not buying a second smart meter.
I've just met the ratepayers, generally speaking.
Well, as far as the smart meter program is concerned, the program itself is going to save ratepayers money. Okay, at this point, if there's no other questions on those pieces, I'm going to hand this over to Howard so he can start talking a little bit more about the green button. This goes back to what we talked about with the My Account. I don't know if you guys have heard about the blue button, but the federal government also developed a green button, and this allows you to download your energy usage.
Thank you, Amber. If you have a My Account, and in fact we had My Account before we had smart meters, but it's a way that you go online to look at your energy usage, a way you can go online to pay your bill. There's now an iPhone app. You can pay your bill, you can look to see if there are any outages in the area. You can also get your energy information. And so if you go into My Account and then there's a green button and press on it, it will show you the history of your usage. And by tracking that, you can look at things that any of us can change in our homes, whether it's the pattern that we turn our lights on, or often we run the furnace. Certain things we control when we wash dishes in a dishwasher, or when we use a clothes dryer. You know, certain other things are not going to change. The refrigerator is going to run whatever it needs to run to keep food cold. But it is a reminder that when our refrigerator needs replacement, to look for the most energy efficient one that you can. Because it will pay you back. And then we have collaborated with the city of San Diego, and it's called the San Diego Apps Challenge. And the best SDGE energy app will win $5,000 for the person that develops it. I'm guessing it probably will be a high school student who probably is the whiz at developing applications. Plug-in electric vehicles. There are more than 1,200 in San Diego now. I'm actually one of the owners. Not an SDGE vehicle, but my wife and I own it. I'm not a car salesman, but it's a fun car to drive. It's nice passing by the gas stations and not paying them. And as far as electric use in my house has gone up, but it's about a third of the cost that it was paying for gasoline.
Question, please.
Oh,
Are ratepayers paying the electrical usage on that? The ratepayers pay for that whole thing, and then these people get free electricity also?
No.
Who pays for the electricity that's feeding these cars?
Okay, and I will answer that. In my home, when I plug in, I pay that bill. If I go to Balboa Park and use a public charging there, that company charges. Right now, that company is providing it for free until the end of April. And then
who's that company?
That company is called Blink.
Are they affiliated? Are they have anything to do with you or Semper or anybody?
No, they do not. They're a company headquartered in San Francisco, I believe. Their parent company is Ecotality. If you go into a business that has a charger, that business might charge the consumer. That business might provide it as customer service.
Okay, so I guess I misunderstood that. So there's no charging facilities where ratepayers are paying that bill?
No.
Okay.
Well, let me clarify one thing. SDGE fleet vehicles, whether they're using gasoline or diesel electricity, if they're being used for company use, then that fuel, no matter what it is being paid by the ratepayers. But that charging at that site is strictly for the SDGE vehicles. Yes, sir.
I have a hypothetical question. We know that you want to charge cars at night because there's less usage of water.
Absolutely.
But what happens if you get to a point where everyone's got a hybrid and is trying to plug in at night? Are you guys going to need more power plants, or what? Has anybody protracted out to that?
Yes. And I actually, the next slide will do it better. People are wondering if electric vehicles are real. I mean, they were in the mid-90s and it didn't quite work out. I think it really will work this time. I can't tell the future any better than anybody else can. But right now you can get a Leaf, you can get a Volt. There's a Tesla Roadster, which I think there's like 5 in this area. They're over $100,000. I don't have that, and I don't think I ever will. But people can do it, that's great. BMW has one that came out this year. Mitsubishi has one that's coming out soon, and there's a whole list of other ones there. As I said, I'm not really here to sell cars, but with that many manufacturers coming out, it appears they will be real. Where we get to the point that every car on the road is electric? I doubt it. Now, to answer your question, we are looking at this. These are projections of plug-in vehicles in San Diego area. It's a combination of working with the state, with the auto manufacturers. It's the best estimates at this time. I'm sure that in 2020 that number, we can't project out that easily that far, but we have looked at that. And one of the things we're talking about, I'll get to that slide in a minute, is smart grid and things that we are doing. So we have developed what we're calling a smart transformer, actually have patented. And right now, I guess you could say the green boxes in front of our homes, or the gray ones up on poles, they're dumb transformers. They sit there, we energize them at a higher voltage, the lower voltage goes to homes and businesses, and they just do it all the time. They don't report back to us on what's going on in the system. We do know what's going on in the system from other devices, but not transformer by transformer, because the technology was just too expensive to do that. Well, now with the technologies that are upon us, we've developed a smart transformer, which can look at what is the loading on that transformer, what is the temperature on that transformer. It can communicate back to us. It will know where there are electric vehicles. If the electric vehicle owner gives us permission, we can work with their charging device in their home, and it can alternate charging between homes so that no one part of the system is overloaded. So that will minimize additional infrastructure. Will there need to be additional infrastructure sometime in the future? I would think so. When and how much, I'm not that good at telling the future either. But you're right. And so we are looking at how can we minimize that additional cost, because the more they can charge at night, the better it is for everybody. From an environmental standpoint, for emissions, from a cost standpoint, for not having to build out greater infrastructure that's used during the day. Solar rooftops. San Diego is, I think, on a per capita basis, the highest place in the nation for solar rooftop installations, which is really great. And you might think we think it's competition, but it really isn't. And it's in paralleling Amber's talk about what we did in North Park. If somebody comes to you and says, I'm here from SDGE and I'm here to reduce your energy usage, your first thought would be, that can't be. It'd be like Costco coming to you saying, I want you to buy less merchandise from me. But in the 80s, the state decoupled electric prices and sales and profits. So they made it so the utilities do not profit from additional sales because the state's goal was conservation. And so how do you get a utility to sell conservation? You don't reward them for selling more electricity. I'm not, asking you to cry for us. We, get a return on our investment that is prudent, but the sales does not affect whether we make money or not.
Howard,
Yes?
is it true that the people who have solar panels now are being charged an extra fee that they didn't initially have when they had solar panels?
There is that potential.
Yeah, sorry. I'm only jumping in because we were just working on this a few months ago. The network use charge that you're referencing, that was part of the GRC2. Let me explain the GRC2 real quickly. Like Howard mentioned, there is we as a utility, we don't make money on the commodity. So there's this impression that when folks put solar on their rooftop and they're not utilizing it during the day, that we are reselling that electricity and making money on that, which we're not. What's happening though is that there is a cost shift on the use of the maintenance, and a cost shift on the folks that are getting the net energy metering customers. And are there any in here? Any? Okay. So when you get your bill at the end of the month, you're getting a full credit for essentially the commodity, but it's the bundled rate. So it's the commodity and it's the transmission costs and it's the public purpose programs that we talked about for the energy efficiency programs. So what's happening is there's a cost shift happening between customers that have solar on their rooftop and customers that don't. So the GRC2 filing, which was actually that network use charge, which is your charge on the system, which would have essentially allocated costs to solar customers that they weren't paying currently. It didn't help the utility. What it did was lessen the cost shift. that net energy metering, that cost, I'm sorry, not net energy metering, that network use charge has been dropped by the commission. So that is not moving forward. We don't know exactly what the state's going to do. We as a utility, in addition to the state and other regulators, we believe that we want to have an abundance of rooftop solar. The governor has goals to far exceed what we currently have in San Diego County, and we want to get there. And so it may be that there's some sort of a legislative fix to make sure that customers that don't have solar on the rooftop aren't subsidizing customers that do, or they may come to some other sort of an arrangement. But it'll be a statewide issue so that it doesn't hamper the solar industry, because having solar on rooftops is a huge benefit that both the state and the utility, we completely agree on that. So more to come. We don't really know where that's going, but the cost, the fee that you mentioned, is not part of the filing.
Thanks, Amber. Yes?
Now that you brought that up, I am curious, all of my power, obviously, that I put on the grid from my solar is generated during the high peak times.
Yes.
Because that's when the sun's out. But it gets credited at the same rate as anything else.
That's correct.
And there's some discussion on the peak. Our peak is actually in the evenings.
So is that when you charge everybody the highest rates?
That should be for residential, not business.
Pardon?
That should be for residential, not
Yeah, but our system will peak between 4 and 6 p.m.
But is that the times when the rate is higher for people when they're using, you were saying...
Oh, on a time of use rate?
Right.
I'm on a residential time of use rate, so let me think about this. My lowest time is midnight to 5 a.m.
Right.
And actually I have my car set to start charging at 12:10 a.m. And then, so in home, so then from 5 a.m. until the next night, it's all peak. The rate I'm on is just 2 bands. A lot of businesses are 3 bands, and I don't recall what those time frames are. But the highest time frame for business is, I think, something like 1 to 7 p.m. or 1 to 8 p.m. You recall, Amber? It's in that range. Sorry, I don't know the exact number. But the rate is higher then, and it's rates are done for multiple purposes by the commission with us. Part of it is to pay for the cost of providing the service, and when the peak usage occurs, that means some of the least efficient energy generators have to operate. So that's part of the cost. And the other is the state wants to encourage all of us to conserve and reduce consumption. And so on residential bills, there's four rates. There's Tier 1 and Tier 4. And so there's rate setting is a combination of what it takes to cost, what it is, how much it takes to serve a customer, and then there's a social aspect that the state puts on it too. I mean, like it or not, just like you're saying, gentlemen, it's a tax none of us voted on as far as the energy efficiency. I happen to think it's a good thing for the state, but I didn't get the vote either.
To expand on your question, right now, there's folks that, I don't know who's put your solar system on, but there's about 40 different people at the table right now, from the solar community, from the local government community, from various other community leaders, in addition to the utility and the rate makers, and the folks that typically intervene on our rate filings, are all at the table trying to find a solution, because they don't want to hurt or harm the solar industry. They want to see that continue to grow. Excuse me. So they're working right now on doing a variety of different studies and looking at modeling and things of that nature. So we just don't really have any updates right now on where that sits. We haven't heard of anything new.
Excuse me. When you say the state, are you talking about the California Public Utility Commission?
Yes. Yes. One other aspect on solar rooftops is we have to operate our system differently. If you think about the distribution system like a tree, you have a big trunk and then large branches, smaller branches, and finally you get the twigs to the leaves. And that's because as the water goes up the tree, the trunk has to carry all the water twig only has to carry the water to that last couple leaves. Well, that's the way the electric system was designed, because nobody, 100 years ago or more, thought about people generating at the end of the line. So as your electric system, as we go through neighborhoods, the capacity goes down as you get towards the end of the road. Makes sense from an economic and engineering standpoint until you have to start getting solar on certain circuits. And so in some outlying areas, there's actually more solar generation than there is load on those circuits. And so as an electrical engineer, it does some unique things on our system which we have to deal with, and we're learning how to do that in the most economical fashion possible so that people can easily put solar on. Yes, sir.
I guess it's time for that question. What is the latest in storage type devices? We know you got a balancing act, you can't, are we dealing with new mechanical, electrical, mechanical systems to try and store energy, batteries? Can you just give us a brief?
There's a couple things. For an application like solar, where you want to balance things, there is being worked on with batteries. I mean, battery technology is not new, although it is improving. For large-scale generation, there's water storage, and that's actually what's being done at Lake Hodges. Lake Hodges is the pipeline to the other, I can't think of the name of the reservoir at the moment.
Haven High.
But anyway, during the day, they can pump it up, they can balance the water between the areas, and then they can generate, and that energy gets sold to us. But that is a slow process. So batteries, capacitors, some other devices are being looked at as how to manage this shift in load. The other part is, Amber talked about getting to 30% renewables or more. If we turn a power plant on, it almost always runs. It really does. If we put a solar array up, it will work as long as the sun's up. And if there's a wind farm, it will work as long as the wind is flowing. So when we're delivering energy to all of our 1.4 million customers, it would not be tolerable that, if the sun goes down and the wind's not blowing, that you don't have electricity. So we're designing and modifying our system to meet that balancing act need. Yes, sir.
Well, and to that end, could you update us as to what's going on with Santa Onofre?
I don't know any more that's in the paper. I mean, that's, and there's a couple reasons. The biggest one is Edison, who's the operating plant, still has a lot of investigation and engineering analysis work to do. They may know a more precise date, but see if they publish a date that has market implications for third-party generators who are in the business, and maybe they're hoping that Songs is not to come back. So I understand they're making progress. They would like to try to get one unit back on this summer. As far as we're concerned, we are planning that neither unit will be running. And I'm not saying they won't be, but we have to look at the resources and what it takes to serve our customers. And so we are making the plans so that we can serve everybody without Songs there. But it's going to be a tough balancing act for us and Southern California Edison.
In regards to Sonoma, initially when the reports came out, they said there would be full disclosure to the public and the public meetings. I would definitely like to go since I've got an engineering background and things of that nature. So, can you kind of update Robin or somebody, or hopefully be in the newspaper, but sometimes you miss those things.
I would hope it to be in the newspaper. Amber, do you think we get that notice? And I'm not trying to dodge your question, believe me, but SDGE is a 20% owner of the power plant. We're not the operator, and so we don't call the shots with the plant, but obviously we're as concerned about the plant as each of you and Edison.
Yeah, Edison is the operator and is taking the lead, so we really aren't taking the forward lead in that and don't have much more information than you have. All I can say is that I know that they are planning to have some meetings with local city councils, like public meetings, So I'm sure those will be noticed. I'll make sure to relay back to folks that I know your interest in that. And then the only other thing is that the Kyle ISO is going to be having a meeting with SDGE. And if you would like an invitation to one of the sessions of that meeting to talk about what the summer outlook looks like, I'm sure we can set something up that way. That'll be sometime May 8th, so Tuesday or next.
Tuesday.
Right, so, but that's just to discuss a lot of what's happening with our planning for the summer. That will obviously be put in the newspaper as well.
I'm more interested in what the event that occurred, what they found, and what's the solution.
Yeah, you know, for setting up for specific questions, we can certainly provide your group with the counterparts at Edison that would come and give a presentation, and maybe you can invite them here to speak to the council.
Question.
Yes.
With if San Onofre's offline during the summer, are we expecting rolling blackouts, or is there enough supply that we can possibly get through it without San Onofre? Or do you guys have any idea?
I can address that question.
Okay. I was just wondering what you guys.
My day job is on the electric operations side.
Okay.
So when the lights go out, I really take it personally. And it will be a tight summer.
Okay.
And I'm one of our emergency operations center responders. I'm one of the strategic leads when we activate that. And so we do multiple training sessions every year. We train for earthquakes, and we train for big gas problem. And we train for, if there'd be a terrorist act.
Yeah.
And we also train every year if there'd be rolling blackouts, because there's a set procedure. That training this year happened to be yesterday. And we always take that training seriously. But yesterday, we really looked at it very carefully. The projections are if we have the hottest summer, and it happens on a weekday, which is typically when you would peak out, but it has happened on holiday weekends. And what probably the worst case would be is you have 3 or 4 high heat days in a row. And the first day that it's super hot out, the state and us and everybody else knows to conserve energy, and there's advertisements and stuff on the radio, and people conserve. And the second day they conserve. And by the third day, and for sure the fourth day, people say, I know I'm supposed to conserve, and I know it's going to cost money, but I'm hot. And I'm turning my air conditioning on. And so that did happen on a Labor Day weekend 5 years ago. We didn't have a problem with it, but we actually peaked on a holiday, on Labor Day, because that Friday, Saturday, Sunday was hot, and Monday was Labor Day, and even though industry was closed down, we hit a peak record. So this year, what we have looked at, if we have that kind of scenario, and songs, neither one is operating, and if another power plant unit goes down somewhere, and one transmission line goes down, when I say go down, it means shut off now.
Yeah.
On, sorry. My vernacular can mean different things, I guess. There's a reserve of 35 megawatts left out of about 4,800 megawatts. Not a lot, but enough. So the question is,
just what happens?
You should be able to go through losing one generator and one transmission line.
Okay.
But you normally would have a little bit more margin than that. So if something else is not working, could there be rolling blackouts? Yes.
Okay, so
we will do everything we can to avoid it. The demand side management programs are being beefed up. A lot of industrial customers, they get special rates if they agree to shut down on our request. And so we're making sure that all that is in place and that the customers are really prepared to be able to do that. Because in this case, we don't really want it to be their business decision. No, I'm going to pay the extra cost so I can run my line. We'd like them to think, maybe I really need to shut down today, so that we don't have a problem. But take it seriously. I'm going to work hard to keep the lights on, and we'll see. Yes?
I'm interested in going solar. We have a nice roof on our house. It's kind of ideal. However, I don't have a lot of resources. It seems like I'm turning into a hippie these days. But for me, it seems like the initial cost is, just getting started, tying to the grid. It could be $6,000 and then $500 a panel. I'm looking for a way to not have to borrow money, to just do it in stages. And I never am presented with that option by anybody, really.
That's an area I don't know a lot about. I'm aware that there's leasing programs, but I don't, where a third party puts it up and puts the initial capital cost, but I don't know if it's 100% capital cost. So I
just don't think to. I mean, I would like to just tie to the grid and then maybe wait a couple years and then start adding a panel a month. I don't believe in a bubble economy. I believe in a pay-as-you-go economy. I think we were better off when we built our houses ourselves and we didn't have these mortgages, lose our jobs, and then ruin our whole life.
So, that's an area I don't know.
I'm afraid to borrow, frankly.
Amber, do you think we have a resource that we can get back to the group?
We don't provide preferential information on any solar installer.
So you don't do it yourselves?
We do not. Yeah.
We do not install rooftop solar on homes.
I mean, not even the grid tied portion?
Once you purchase solar for your rooftop, you then become a net energy metering customer with us, and we interface differently because you're on a different program. You may want to speak with someone that has solar on their rooftop, though, on the others, because we don't have a list of vendors that we recommend or anything like that.
So I probably talked about this slide, but what we really are trying to do is innovate and collaborate with communities, and that's why people like Amber, myself, and other employees come out and meet with community groups to give you information, get input. We're working with a lot of local governments and businesses because the utility of the future is going to be much different, and we want to be, and so are all of our customers' needs, and that's what we want to do is make sure we meet their needs. A few more things. Sustainable communities. On a commercial basis, we have installed some solar on commercial buildings. The solar is owned by SDGE. The energy goes directly into the SDGE grid. The owner of the building gets rent for leasing their rooftop or whatever the facility is. We've done it in conjunction with LEED, which is high energy efficiency buildings. We did a project at Balboa Park Science Museum. Actually, it's on the rooftop there, and then there's a display inside the museum so everybody can see how much energy is being generated. So far, there's been 31 projects, more than 3.5 megawatts, which on the hottest summer day this year, 3.5 megawatts sounds pretty good, actually. But it's for this kind of program, that's a large number compared to the needs of the area, which on a summer peak could be about 4,800 megawatts. It's a small piece of it, but it's growing. And recently we opened a Energy Innovation Center, which you haven't been there. I encourage you to go. It's on Claremont Mesa Boulevard, just a little bit west of the 163. We have all sorts of energy efficiency information there, everywhere from residential through large industrial. And we have put up, these are called solar trees, and a group of them is I'm told, a solar forest. In the parking lot, they provide some of the energy for our Energy Innovation Center. And tied in with that, we also have for SDGE vehicles, fast charge, electric vehicle charging from the solar. And that has a battery also, so we can have more energy available for the vehicle.
Trees have panels on them, is that it?
Yes, they're at the top, and they're gimbaled, so it follows the sun. And for the cars underneath, provide shaded parking.